The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and it's time for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. My name is Peter Trunk, and my co-hosts, as always, are Fred Walin and Ron Rabinovitz. Fred, how are you?
I am fine, and the Dodgers are fine, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way.
Yeah. Ronnie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. After that win the other day, it can't be bad at all. It's great.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, it was.
Very exciting.
We got a lot to cover tonight. The Dodgers were in the postseason. They won their little standoff game with the other team that was tied for first place with them, and now they become, for the sixth year in a row, the division champions of the National League West. As they defeated Colorado 5-2. The thing that upset me about the 5-2 game, not too many things upset me about that 5-2 game because it was a victory, but the thing that did upset me was Kenley Jansen in the ninth inning giving up two home runs, and we'll get to that a little later on. That freaked me out. It got me very nervous, and I had to go look it up. And Kenley has given up 13 home runs this year. That's more than twice as many as he's given up in any other season. So he's prone to the gopher ball, and I think all three of us would agree that it has something to do with his heart ailment, because this really came to fruition, this slump, if you will, came to fruition after his scare out in Colorado about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Right.
I don't think he should be pitching at all.
So,
I blame Dodger management. I think you can always find a doctor to say, okay, you can pitch even if you don't take your medicine. And folks, you have to remember something. Kenley Jansen had a heart operation in 2012, so this is not a first-time thing. So that makes it more and more dangerous. The Dodgers are to blame. They should not allow him to pitch. They're more worried about winning the World Series. They didn't get a top-notch reliever before July 31, and so basically they're gambling a guy's life to go far in the playoffs. And as Peter just indicated, he hasn't been the same anyways, and he's throwing 3 or 4 miles an hour.
No, he hasn't.
Less velocity than he had before.
Right.
And just watching the games where he has been throwing, the ball's not moving as the same way it was before. So obviously he's not 100%. So you got a 90% or an 80% Kenley Jansen. No other bullpen guys that you could name outside of Maeda and Alex Wood, who are starters, which makes no sense whatsoever. So I think Dodger management has totally blown this. Now look, as I do this show, I've got a million Dodger books around me. I've got Duke Snider's autograph in front of me and the whole thing. So I'm since I was 5, I've been a Dodger fan. But I really, really don't think they're going to get it done, and it's all on management's fault.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. I know Ronnie is my Boswell in that ever since this happened, this heart ailment reared its ugly head again in Colorado, I've been messaging our friend Bernie Rose and Ronnie Rabinovitz. I've been saying, now he's going to pitch without taking his medication because his medication makes him feel like he's not in the present. He feels otherworldly or whatever. I said, this is crazy. I said, God forbid if something terrible happens, it's all on the Dodgers' head. And to try to win baseball games is one thing, but when you're messing around with a guy's life and death situation, I mean, let's face it,
it's nothing.
Married with children and everything, that's nothing to fool around with. And I've been against this, maybe not on the air as vehemently as I've been against it off the air, messaging back and forth.
You've been on the air with it too, and I agree.
Have I? Okay.
And Fred too. Fred too.
It's kind of crazy. It really is crazy when you think about it. Moving from there, I
have
go ahead.
A quick question.
Go ahead.
What happens if the Dodgers end up playing the Rockies in the playoffs?
Yeah.
What
I
are you going
thought
to do
as
with
soon as the
Jensen
third
in
out,
Denver?
as soon as the third out was made last night, with the
Yeah.
Rockies defeating the Chicago Cubs,
Yeah.
that was my first thought. If we
Me
have
too.
to go into Denver, we're going without Jansen. And rightfully so.
Can't go there.
We're going without him.
Can't go there. Right.
Hey,
Can't bring him with us.
Let me make a point here. Even
Go
beyond
ahead.
that, Ernie Johnson Jr. of TBS is not doing any of the telecasts because he's got blood clot problems in his legs. The doctor said he cannot fly, so he's just going to be in studio in Atlanta, and other people are going to be calling the play-by-play. Same circumstance here with Jansen. It's not just a mile high in Colorado. He should not be in an airplane. He should not be miles up in the air. And everybody knows that. You know that. I know that. The world knows that. But he's going to be flying anywhere except Colorado. He should not be in an airplane with that heart problem that he has. The whole thing is insane, and nobody's talking about it. It's like it doesn't exist. It does exist. He's not taking his medicine just so he can pitch. The medicine could be keeping him alive. People don't getting
exactly.
that. I want to scream because I remember Hank Gathers. I know exactly what I was doing the night that he died when he's playing for Loyola Marymount. He went off his medicine. Next thing you know, he dies at half court. We don't want Kevin Hansen to pass away for a World Series.
No.
The Dodgers have won their share of World Series. Give me a break and worry about the human being and not about for celebrations winning the World Series. It's honestly beyond me.
I agree with you. How much do you think Kenley has to do with this?
I don't care. I mean,
they should.
All the Dodgers have to say is no. I mean, in the NFL, they used to up until about 2 years ago when the CTE thing came out, the teams had their own doctors. Okay, so if a player gets hit in the head, what is the team doctor going to say? Well, he wants to keep his job, so get that player back in. And what's the player going to say? A player's never going to say no. A player thinks that he's indomitable, he's immortal, whatever the case might be. So this is on management. This is on the Dodgers. They should do the moral thing and say, we made a mistake. We didn't get a relief pitcher, but we're not going to gamble somebody's life to go further in the playoffs.
100% agreed.
I agree, 100%. Excuse me.
That's crazy. That's absolutely
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Oh, man. Anyway, next subject. Who is your Dodger MVP for the regular season? Ronnie?
Oh, boy. I would have to say Muncy.
Okay, that's mine. That's mine, by the way, Max Muncy. Fred, what do you say?
It's going to sound crazy, but I would say Muncy or Kiki Hernandez is hitting like 230. Because they sort of came out of nowhere from the point of view that Muncy in the 35 home runs, and Hernandez has played every position in 20-plus home runs. So from my perspective, it would be Muncy or Hernandez, and nobody would agree with this. Well, you might agree with this if you're listening.
Well, I do, because
I do too.
Before the Dodgers went to San Francisco for their final 3 games of the regular season, I messaged a bunch of people, and I think Ronnie was one of them, that I had a dream, and my dream was that Kike Hernandez would lead the Dodgers into the postseason, and I didn't have any specifics. There was no home run in my dream or a steal of home in my dream or anything like that, but I saw Kike Hernandez as the hero of the last 3 games, and he went 11 for 20. So my dreams came true. That Kike was, in fact, he was lights out. That was crazy. He was in a dream instead of me.
He was.
The Dodgers starting pitchers for the Atlanta series. They're going to start off with Ryu. The second game is going to be Kershaw. Then they have an off day, and Buehler will start the first game in Atlanta, which is the 3rd game, and then the 4th game will go to Hill. And I've read all over the Internet how great are the Dodgers? This is paraphrasing. How great are the Dodgers that their pitching staff is so great that their third pitcher will be Walker Buehler. And, that speaks volumes on how great their pitching staff is. And I'm yelling at my computer. I'm screaming at my screen of my computer saying, no. If we were coming off the winter, Buehler would be opening up. The only reason it's Ryu, Kershaw, and Buehler is because that's where they're due. That's their due.
That's where they're due, right.
This is the fifth day for Ryu. It'll be the fifth day for Kershaw, and it'll be the sixth day for Buehler because of the day off. But this is the order that they're supposed to throw in. It has nothing to do with how great the Dodger pitching staff is. Right. Your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
No, I agree with you.
I agree.
The only possible second thought would be this. In the past, if Kershaw was Kershaw of 3-4 years ago, he would get to start even on 1 day fewer days of rest. He certainly is not the same as he has been in the past couple of years. He hasn't been the same that he has before. He's lost 3-4 miles also on his fastball, and it makes a big difference. He's no longer the dominating thing, but here's the key. I mean, this is part of this. He's got an opt-out. The opt-out says he can go anywhere he wants after this season if he feels like it. He's from Texas. There is no guarantee he comes back as a Dodger. Now, is he upset that he's not going to be the starter for the first time in the playoffs for 5 years, or is he not upset? I don't know. He seems to me to be a team player. In the off season, his wife and Clayton go to Africa and Asia and help the poor, and they're giving millions to charities, and they help all kinds of charities and things like that, and kids who need things. So I think it's a family that wouldn't be considering that. But on the other hand, everybody's got an ego, and is this enough just to push him just a little bit further? And he ends up in one of the two teams in the state of Texas next year because he is not the starting pitcher in the 2018 playoffs.
Do you think that might be by design by the Dodger front office because they don't want to pay him?
That's interesting.
And they know he's not the Kershaw of old?
That's fair.
Maybe they're doing this on purpose.
Maybe. Great point.
To buy into your theory, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. $33 million.
In other words, if we three guys right here are in a Dodger front office, and we're talking off the air, of course, off the air. We're having a couple of beers in my office at Dodger Stadium, and I say to you, what do you think about re-signing Kershaw? And you say to me, well, Pete, he lost 5 miles an hour on his fastball. He's making $35 million a year. What are we going to do? Sign him for $38 million a year and give him 7 more years? He's not going to regain the 5 miles an hour on his fastball. What the hell are we going to do? And then Ronnie says, yeah, but wait a minute. We can't just let him walk because the fans will think we don't have any love for Clayton Kershaw and all the things he does on and off the field. And then I say, wait a minute, I just got a brilliant idea. We start Ryu in the first game, piss him off a little bit, and push him towards Houston or Arlington.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, again, Guggenheims are crooked. And tricky. And you can call them the Donald Trumps of baseball. They try anything to look good and not be good. And with the $3.5 million that they draw, they don't make enough money, or the $350 million that they make from television every year, and 60 to 70% of us get blacked out. They've shown that they're true colors. And this would be it's a great plot, and I got to give Peter. I think it could be right on target. It really could. It could be just the easiest way to make themselves look like it's not their fault. And we've done our best.
Deflect.
And they just don't want to pay the
They're going to deflect.
They're going to deflect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, going into this series, the Dodgers are 5-2 against the Braves this year in their 7 games. And they're 2-1 at Dodger Stadium. I came across a stat that I wanted to put out there for you guys to hear. It's an amazing, in my estimation, it's an amazing stat. The Dodgers, this year, the 2018 iteration of the Dodgers went 50-0, 50 wins and no losses in games that they led by 4 runs at any point. No other team went undefeated in such games.
Wow.
Let that sink in a little bit. At any point during the game, if and when the Dodgers were up by 4 runs, they were 50-0 this year.
I wouldn't count. I wouldn't count on that in the playoffs without the.
No. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that's that I stumbled upon.
No,
Wait, hey, look at last year's World Series. They're ahead by 1,000 runs and lost.
Right.
But you know.
I'm just saying that the way that Roberts uses his starters, you know you're going to have to go to the bullpen. So even if Jensen was 100%, I couldn't count on. You just said it last year. We saw what went on. So my point being, it's a great stat for the regular season. It means nothing as far as I'm concerned. As far as playoffs are concerned, because Jensen is not Jensen, and they did not get that relief pitcher that other teams went out and got. I mean, Brad Hand, I don't know if San Diego would have done him, but there were enough out there that could. Yeah,
we talked about him, right?
Could
there were some great pitchers out there that they didn't pick up.
I mean, everybody listening right now to Comfortably Zone Radio Network, you might be a Dodger fan, you might not, but you're a baseball fan most likely. Name some of the Dodger relievers, and I challenge anybody to name a slew of them. And in the past, you would know every single one. You would know who'd be being 7th, 8th, 9th. You wouldn't. In most of the teams, for the Yankees, when Chapman is healthy, he's pitching the 9th. You know what I'm saying. You don't know this team because they do not have a dominating reliever, any shape or form. That's why Alex Wood, and that's why Kent Amanda, neither of whom want to be relievers, are playing reliever. And so it's a mess.
Yeah. It really is.
The one Dodger pitcher that I've been all over last year and this year is Pedro Baez, and yet he hasn't given up a run in his last 19 appearances.
Yeah, he's been good.
That's amazing.
But you know what? He's, come in good and bad. You can't count. It's like when he comes in, I kind of cringe.
Sure. I understand that. All I'm telling you is what the book says. The book says he hasn't given up a run since early August. 19 straight appearances, he hasn't given up a run.
And that announcer has gone to sleep while he's taking his time between pitches.
He does take too much time, way too much. Ridiculous. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's go down, if you don't mind, gentlemen. Let's go down position by position, the Braves and the Dodgers, and let's see who we give the nod to as who the better player is coming up in this series. Let's start with first base. For Atlanta, they got Freddie Freeman, and we have Max Muncy and David Freese. I'll tell you my answer before I ask you for yours. I give the nod to Atlanta. Freddie Freeman is better than Muncy and Freese. What do you say, Ronnie?
I disagree. I think Muncy's better.
Okay. Fred?
I think Freddie Freeman's a possible Hall of Famer.
Yeah, me too. I'm not saying he's a lock for the Hall of Fame, but I'll tell you what, if he retired after this series, 5 years from now, he'd be in Cooperstown.
Yeah,
Guy's unbelievable.
He's played in places where people don't, see him that often or read about him that often. But if you look at his
he's
stats,
unreal.
He's
like a machine.
The machine, and
crazy.
Everything he hits is a line drive. So I think there's certainly that possibility. Listen, Freese was a good pickup. I got to give the Dodger management credit for that.
That's right.
Muncy's a shock. Nobody thought he'd hit 30-plus home runs.
Nobody.
Bellinger, when he plays first, is a fine defensive first baseman, but I think you'd have to give the nod
to Freeman.
To Freeman against those three, but
for me that was. I didn't even have to think about that. I put the check next to Freeman immediately. Let's go to second base. Ozzie Albies against Dozier or Kike. I'll give you mine. I picked Dozier and Kike. Mostly I picked Kike. But and that's not to say Albies is a slouch, because he's not. He's a hell of a ball player. But right now, Hernandez is white hot, whatever you want to call it. He's just blazing hot. I'm going to give my check. I'm going to check Hernandez. What do you say, Fred?
I think it's close. I mean, I probably lean to the Dodgers on that one from that aspect. But again, I got to tell you, Milwaukee, with the addition of the players that it picked up in the off season, again, nobody talks about Milwaukee, but they're better than people think they are. I think the Cubs discovered that in the National League Central.
Yes.
And, I think it's a good series. And both teams could win. The Dodgers obviously have the extra game at home, so, I mean, that's a major advantage. But either team could win.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'd go with Hernandez.
They're not playing the Brewers. They're playing the Atlanta Braves.
Oh,
right.
I'm losing my mind here. Yeah, you're
But
right.
you know what, Freddie? Hold it. Time out. I'm going to back you up on this. Even though you had the wrong team, if we jump ahead, and then we'll jump back to where we are right now, but if we do jump ahead, and if Milwaukee is the next team we face, we're in deep, deep shit. Milwaukee is a really good team.
Very good team.
They are excellent. They are an excellent team. Excellent in every way, shape, or form. Let's get back to third base. Atlanta's got a guy named Johan Camargo against Justin Turner. I take Justin Turner. Ronnie, I know you're going to take Justin Turner.
I am.
Freddie,
yes.
Freddie, come on, JT, right?
Well, Camargo's got power. Turner is a better defensive third baseman. But I think you'd have to lean toward the experienced guy, and that would be Justin Turner in that case.
All righty, let's go to shortstop. Dansby Swanson, Manny Machado.
But Swanson may be out, according to what I just read.
Oh, really? Why? What's the matter with him?
Forgot the injury, but he missed the last few games of the regular season.
Oh, okay.
So he could be out, and that makes a major difference. And, of course, Machado's going to be the favorite there anyway. So
yeah, Machado's going to be the favorite. Let's jump out to left field. Ronald Acuna and Kemp/Peterson. I take Acuna, no problem.
I do too.
Acuna, and Albies, the two young guys that did make the difference with the club, with the Braves, no question. But Peterson's got 25 home runs. He's leading off now. He seems to have refound that swing that he had 3 years ago. And Kemp's come out of nowhere. Nobody thought he'd even make the team. Nobody thought the Dodgers would make the team.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a walkover in left field, because these two guys can play. And Peterson originally a center fielder. It's interesting how these things come to pass. When he first started as a center fielder, everybody said he was a real good center fielder. And then the analytics got involved, and they said, well, he really hasn't saved that many runs. And so then automatically that makes him not a center fielder. They move him to left. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, speaking of analytics, speaking of that, I'm glad you said that, Fred. I read today an article on how many people each major league team employs that their only job is analytics. And
I think quite a few.
They're right. All the major league teams have at least one guy.
Yeah.
There are two major league teams that have 20. They have 20 guys that they employ to do nothing but the numbers, the analytics.
Wow.
You want to guess on who those two teams are?
I'll bet one of them is the Dodgers.
And who else?
One of them is the Dodgers.
Yep.
You want to guess on the other one?
No.
Yankees.
The Yankees. Very good. Yankees and the Dodgers. They both employ 20 people to do nothing but study the analytics.
Hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh.
20.
listen, I'm a numbers guy. I really am. I mean, I've always cared about numbers. My dad taught me that. I think I told you the story, to do an ERA when I was 5 years of age. When I'm in second grade, I'm the only one that doesn't have to. This is a long time ago. I don't have to use beads. The teacher said, "Why don't you have to use beads?" I said, "Because I love baseball." And this is no joke. So I've always been very mathematical. But I don't know what you guys think. I think the analytics have gone a little bit too far. That's all I'm saying.
A little bit.
I agree.
A little bit, but they're still important.
I agree.
They're still important. I like them.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Bellinger, who I think is a good center fielder, is that much better center fielder than Jock Peterson was? I mean,
no, I don't.
I don't.
No, I don't. No, I don't. But he is better.
Okay,
he is better. But he's not like night and day or anything like that.
That's the point. And the analytics would say he's night and day, and I just don't think that's the case. So anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? If the analytical guy says that it's night and day between Bellinger and Peterson, that doesn't make me throw out all the number guys. That's just one place where I don't see it as strongly as I see it in other places. I like, for instance, years ago, not too many years ago, no one was talking about on-base percentage. No one was talking about, until Billy Bean and Moneyball, nobody was talking about walks, how many walks the guy gets. Until Theo Epstein, nobody was talking about how many pitches does he see per at-bat. You know, these kind of stats are not only intriguing, but I love them. I go crazy for these stats. But yes, it can be overdone. Like anything else. I love chocolate ice cream. I'm not going to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
You know, I was watching Arenado last night. Folks were taping this on Wednesday afternoon about 8:30 Eastern Time, or 5:30 Pacific Time. But on Tuesday, I'm watching Arenado at third base make a great play. Nobody has to tell me that he saves 7.2 runs per game or per year more than any other third baseman. You can use your eyes, you can see it. So,
right.
I mean, stats like that. I mean, Turner's up there. Turner's considered one of the better defensive third basemen too.
Yes, he is.
You know, but
yes, he is.
Yeah, analytics are fine, but I sometimes it just they just, you know, a guy goes
just too much.
One step
gets
better
too
than
much.
somebody else. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, and I just think, you know, it's very easy to go too far with anything and everything, and I think from my perspective, I just like watching the game, and I know Arenado's a very good third baseman, the best defensive third baseman in the game.
Okay, but let's put it like this. Let's say you just got out of prison. Right. You don't know anything about the game. Right. I get you a free pass. You're going to sit in a press box with me to watch the Rockies against the Dodgers. Right. And the guy hits the ball down to third base, and Arenado makes a great play and throws the guy out. And you look at me and you go, holy crap. And then I say to you, well, he saved 7.2 runs per season, and that's number one. That's a stat that you can use and that you would enjoy. If you watch him every single day, like an announcer up in the booth for the Rockies, you don't need that stat. You see it already.
You see it every day.
The point I'm trying to make is that the stats have a purpose. They serve a purpose to some people. And to me, I like them. I don't like when they're overdone, but I do like them. I do like them. I have my doubts about the WAR stat, wins above replacement. I think that's a little nebulous. It's really hard to figure. They change it from ballpark to ballpark and from league to league. It's kind of strange. But anyway, let's get back
How
to
is that figured? How is that figured, Peter?
You know what? That's a whole show.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
That'd take an hour and a half. That'd take an hour and a half to explain it to you because it's not figured the same way for every position or every player. It's not.
Let me just throw you one stat that I do think is important, and I forgot the hitter, but he was as he went up to the bat, he was 9 for 24 against Cole Hamels, and that's 375, 3 for 8, 375. And then he lined one to left for another hit, so now he's 10 for 25 or 400. That's one stat that I do take seriously because certain hitters do have their way with certain pitchers, and some guys couldn't hit a certain pitcher if the pitcher was throwing softball. So it doesn't make any difference. So that's one stat that I do take seriously. And last night at work, he was 9 for 24, and now he's 10 for 25.
Yeah. You know the numbers. I don't know the numbers, but they're out of sight. Kike against Bumgarner.
Yeah. And,
he's hitting like 500 against them. And it's not 5 at-bats. It's not 6 at-bats, 3 for 6.
No.
It's like something crazy. It's really crazy. It's like 20 for 40, something like that. He rips them. He owns them.
Yeah.
Okay, when we were growing up, who hit Sandy Koufax as well as anybody?
Yeah.
Catcher couldn't hit you.
There was like a very pedestrian national leaguer that used to own Koufax, and I can't remember who it was.
I can't think of the announcer for the radio announcer still for the Braves. I mean for Milwaukee, the former catcher. And why am I drawing a blank here? But he hit Koufax at home runs too, and he hardly hit any home runs in his entire career. So
Bob Uecker?
Yeah, Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker.
Uecker, yeah. Thank you for thinking that. I would not have slept tonight. You explained to me how he could hit Sandy Koufax when he couldn't hit anybody else.
Right.
Yeah. Some people have
it's all seeing the ball. I know that from playing ball myself, and you guys played ball. I know you did, Fred.
Yeah.
It's all in seeing the ball. I mean, you know why guys, young hitters always swinging at that high fastball.
Yeah.
And no one ever explains it. I can't stand it when the announcers say, "Oh, he swung through that one. He swung through. He can't catch up to that one. He can't. I don't know why he's swinging at that one. He can't catch up to that. He can't do it. He can't do it." And they never get. And even ex-ball players that are in the booth, they don't get it. They don't say it. They don't explain it. The reason why he's swinging at that pitch is because he can see the whole ball.
Yeah.
He can see the entire ball. He just doesn't see the top of the ball.
Yeah.
When Koufax throws a ball to your knees, you only see the top of the ball. It doesn't have to be Koufax. It can be anybody. When a pitcher throws a pitch and it's down by your knees, you're seeing the top of the ball. That's all you're seeing. You don't have eyes in your cleats, in your socks, in your ankles. But when the ball is up by your tits, you can see the whole ball. It looks like a grapefruit. So you're jumping out of your cleats to swing at it. You can't catch up to it, of course, if the guy has some mustard on it, and that's why you're swinging through it. No one ever explains that. I don't know why. It's so simple. It's not
so
like
simple.
I'm a brilliant. Yeah, it's not like that's a brilliant thing to think of. I knew that when I was in the Pony League, for Christ's sakes. Anyway, let's get back to the player against player. Center fielder. The Braves have a guy named Ender Inciardi, and we got Cody Bellinger. I call that, after looking up their stats, I call that a push. I know one of you guys must be a gambler to some extent. You know what a push is.
Yeah.
What do you say, Ronnie?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
What Incarnati can give you, he can give you the stolen base.
Yeah.
He can give you the extra base. People don't realize that besides power, Bellinger's very fast. He might be one of the, I don't know where he'd rank as far as
he is fast.
Players are concerned, but he'd be in the top.
He's got a quick swing, too.
As far as speed is concerned.
Quick swing.
So I don't think average people understand. That's why they were able to switch him from a first baseman to a center fielder. But Incarnati is a very good player, and I play fantasy every day. I use him a lot. He's not going to hit more than 10 or 15 home runs, but he's going to steal 20 to 30 bases, and those add up. When you play fantasy, and those add up. You steal an extra base, and one base hit scores you instead of two base hits scoring you. So it does make a difference. I'd call that a draw, as you said.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Right field. Nick Markakis and Yasiel Puig. I call that also a push.
I think they both are as fine a defensive right fielder as you're going to find in baseball. You're not going to find better right fielders than that. The difference, of course, and they both have really good arms. Puig now and then throws to the wrong base. Markakis never does, but I'll call that a push also.
Okay.
I agree.
Catcher, Kurt Suzuki or Grandal? I picked Grandal.
I took Suzuki.
All right.
Depends which Grandal we're talking about. Is it the Grandal that hits, 400 for a month, or is it the Grandal that?
Well, see, wait a minute now. Hold it.
91.
Whoa. That's a valid point. That's a valid point, and that's why if we back up to the right fielder, that's why I didn't take Markakis over Puig, because Puig's been so good the last month or 40 days that I called it a push. Normally, without hesitation, I would say Markakis. So when you say it depends on which Grandal, I'm going to say let's go with the Grandal the last 10 days, 14 days. I pick Grandal over Suzuki. Ronnie picks Suzuki, and Freddie, what do you say?
It's interesting. Remember last year? He got beaten out at the end of the season by
Absolutely.
Arns.
Absolutely. That was shocking.
Shocking. And so, I mean, I call it a draw. I can't break the tie.
Yeah. All right.
I'll split the difference.
All right, there you go. One last thing, gentlemen, the bench. I give the bench to the Dodgers.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, yeah.
Dodger bench could start anywhere else in baseball.
The thing about the Dodgers, the advantage the Dodgers have over most teams at the bench is that a lot of their players can play a lot of positions. And I think that's like, we mentioned Hernandez before. What position can't he play? Well, he can't pitch, as we found out in that one game, and he's not a catcher. But outside of that, he can play any other position on the
field. He can play anywhere.
Right.
And I think they have more of those type of players. You take Peterson. I mean, he can still play center. He can play left. His arm's good enough to play right. Bellinger's center fielder, left fielder, right fielder, first base. Machado, shortstop, third baseman. So Muncy, I don't think he's a great first baseman nor a great second baseman, but he can play the position. So the Dodgers have one of the best all-around type benches you're going to find in baseball, if not the best.
I was watching a show on MLB TV just last night, and one of the commentators was Joe Girardi.
Right.
He of Yankee fame. Former manager.
Sure.
And someone brought up the fact that the Dodgers bench, and even beyond the Dodgers bench, they could all play all these different positions. And they sounded just like you, Fred. Muncy can go first, second, third. Hernandez can go second, short, center. Peterson could go all three. Bellinger can go first base and all three, outfield, all this. And when they were all done saying that, they all sort of like looked over to Joe Girardi. He was the only ex-manager on the podium, by the way. And Girardi just smiled and he said, there's something that you guys aren't taking into consideration. And my ears perked up because I figured Girardi's going to say something that only managers know.
Right.
And sure enough, he said, when I managed, he said, we had plenty of guys that could play different positions. Some could catch. Some could play first, second, outfield, whatever. But I'm going to tell you something. When you asked one of those guys to switch their position, to go one night second base and the next night in the center field, like a Kike Hernandez, whether you know it or not, or whether he admits it to you or not, it bothers him. It makes him feel uncomfortable because, very simply, he doesn't know day to day where he's at. When a player comes to the ballpark and knows he's playing every night, he's got a certain mental attitude. And again, on the defensive side, when a guy comes to the ballpark every night and he knows where in the field he's playing, and he doesn't have to go and check the lineup and do a guesswork about it, he feels much more comfortable. So when you put a guy in another position, even though he can play that position, or it says so on the back of his baseball card, he's not at ease with it, and he's not comfortable with it. And I thought that was a real, and the other guys just looked at him, and they all like, whoa, let's go to commercial. They didn't know what to say. I thought it was a heavy statement.
I don't agree with him. I agree with him if all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you start playing these guys at different positions. The Dodgers this year and last year and the year before have been doing exactly that. So I would agree with you, as baseball in the past was played, you're not going to ask Mickey Mantle to play second base, or he came up with shortstop, of course, the whole story. You're not going to, Casey's not going to say to him, hey, today you're playing shortstop.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, right.
But I disagree with Joe.
Although he did come up with as a shortstop, but that's neither here nor there. In the 1968 World Series, Detroit had a shortstop called Mickey Stanley.
Sure.
And
center fielder too.
The day before the opening game of the series, the manager said to him, "Guess what? You're playing center field."
Yeah.
And he played center field in the World Series, and the Tigers became world champions.
Yep.
And Mickey Stanley went from shortstop to center field in 24 hours.
Yep.
He didn't warn him. He didn't ask him. He told him. And so it can happen, and it can be successful. But I'm just saying it's not a normal thing to do. And, guys that are jack of all trades, I hate to keep on picking Kike Hernandez, but I'm going to pick him again. Anyway, you pick Kike Hernandez. Now, you get him in your living room with a glass of beer, and there's no one else around. No sports writers, no coaches, no managers, no fans, just you and him, your neighbors. Let's say your neighbors. And you have a couple of beers, and you say to him, where's your favorite place to play? He's going to tell you. Just like Manny Machado is going to tell you in print his favorite place to play is shortstop. Is that his best position? No, it's not. How do we know that? Analytics. Analytics. We know it from analytics. We know that's not his best position. Is he horrible at shortstop? No, he's not. He's probably just as good as Seager at shortstop. But that's not his best position. Now, Kike, wait a minute, just let me finish the story. Kike is going to tell you what his favorite position is when he's sitting on your couch. And I don't know what that position is. He might say, my favorite position is center field because blah, blah, blah. Or my favorite position is second base because of blah, blah, blah. Or my favorite position is wherever, who knows. But they have a favorite position. That's the point Girardi was making. And I thought it was a valid point. That even on that level, professional level, they have their position. Are they able to switch around? Yeah, sure they are. Do they really want to? Oh, they're going to tell you with the microphone in their face and the bright light shining on them, it doesn't matter where I play. I just want to win. That's all we know that's all bullshit. What they want to do is they want to be their own cause is what they want to promote. I want 35 home runs, but I'm not going to get behind a microphone and say, I want to hit 35 home runs. I'm going to get behind a microphone and say, I want the team to win. Well, if I only hit 9 home runs and my team wins the World Series or something, great, I get a ring. But how much money am I going to make when I hit the open market only hitting 9 home runs? I want to hit 35 home runs. So I'm swinging like Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor's swinging for the palm trees no matter what the count is, no matter what the score is, no matter what the inning is, no matter what we need, a guy at second base with nobody out, is he going to move him to third base? You can bet your wife's life on it that he's not going to move him to second base. He's going to be swinging from his ass, trying to hit the ball over the palm trees. Now,
and striking out.
Now, when you talk to Taylor after the game, he said, all I want is the team to win. That's horse shit. Yeah. That's horse shit. He wants to hit a 500-foot home run because he wants to make $12 million a year, not $6 million a year. This is human nature, folks. This is human nature. I'm not putting these guys down. I'm just telling you what the real deal is, and let's get it out there over the airwaves here. Kike Hernandez has a favorite position. I don't know what it is, but Kike Hernandez and all the other Dodgers, too, they all have a favorite position, the position that they would much rather play. The only one that we know about is Machado because he's the only honest one there.
Right. Well, I'm sure Matt Kemp would rather play right than left because he came up as a center fielder and a right fielder. But again, you get to be over 30 years of age. What's Matt? About 34. you understand that you don't have the same range, and you certainly don't have the arm of a Puig. So I think that also comes into play. And but I basically can't disagree. I mean, everybody's numero uno. Everybody's out for numero uno, themselves. I don't disagree with that. But the one thing you've got to say Roberts, he's not switching this mid-season or late season. It's been the way he's managed since he took over the Dodgers.
Exactly.
Nothing's changed as far as that is concerned. So the players understand that from that aspect. And again, when they get home, they're telling their wives, "God darn it, I wanted to play right, and you put me in left again."
Yeah.
But they, it's like everybody on the team. I mean, there's nobody that, has Turner played anything besides third? Has he played first? I'm trying to think. I don't think you would take Turner off third, but other than that, who has only played, Grandel's played first, hasn't he? I'm trying to think. Who else?
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, so who has on this team, who has played only one position all year? Is it Turner or anybody else?
I think Turner played second base one time.
Did he play second base?
Did he really?
I think he did one time. I think so. I think Muncy was at third or something.
I think you're right.
I remember that. I remember him at second.
Then there's nobody on the entire team that has played only one position all season long, which I don't know if a lot of teams can say that. I mean, it's just...
That's a really good point, Fred.
Yeah.
That is a very, very interesting thing you just said. There's no one on the Dodgers starting 10 or 11, let's say, because maybe Barnes only caught. But I'm talking about the first, like you are too, talking about like the first string, if you will, of the Dodgers only played one position. I don't think any of them only played one position. That's a great point.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's right. Yeah,
well, that certainly helps you in key situations because you can make changes and not have to worry. Well, I can't put him in this position or that position. So in that aspect, you can give Roberts credit. The discredit again is what we brought up. After last year's World Series, everybody did is that he pulled pitchers too soon. He pulls pitchers too soon, and that's when he even had a top-notch Jensen. So. Jansen. I mean,
and Morrow. And Morrow too.
Morrow.
He had Morrow, and he still did it.
Yeah. He's got neither really, and because ironically, Morrow is not going to be, he's on the DL too, but and Jansen is not Jansen. But my point is, this year if he does the same thing, they're really screwed because they got nobody that you can count on. Maeda's made the point he's not happy as a reliever. I don't know if Wood has spoken out. But I think he might be a free agent, and if he is, he doesn't want to be a reliever, is all I can tell you. So,
you know why Kenta Maeda doesn't want to be a reliever, right?
No, I mean, because he's a starter.
No, you know why he doesn't want to be a reliever.
Why?
He had incentives in his 2018 contract
there it is.
on a certain amount of innings, and he was going to get a $500,000 bonus. That's why it cost him $1.5 million to go to the bullpen.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about management. Management should have walked up to him and said, "I know Dave's asked you to go to the bullpen to help the team. We know you would have had the innings. We're going to give you that money." Did management do that? I don't think so.
No.
I'm willing to bet they didn't, or it didn't. So
we would have read about it if they did.
Okay, so but
of course we would have.
Wouldn't that have been the square thing to do? Wouldn't that have been the moral thing to do, the ethical thing to do? That's why I don't like Donald Trump, and that's why I don't like the Guggenheims. They're the same. I mean, it's like everything is for them, or in Trump's case, for him. And maybe there'll be a New York Times article on the Guggenheims next week, as the Trump article came out earlier this week. It's almost like you're living in a world of ogres, a world of people who only care about themselves. And I would love to read that after this season is over, Maeda is given the additional money that he would have gotten.
I would love to read that myself. That would make me feel very good. Before we leave the air tonight, I want to thank you, Fred, for making me think in a different way, to see something from a different angle. When you said to me about when I was on my soapbox talking about guys playing different positions, and that Girardi said that they're not comfortable with different positions and this and that. and you told me that no one on the Dodgers has played only one position all season long. That is another way, turning around in a mirror and seeing it from a different perspective, and I thank you for that. I love that. I'm going to be thinking about that tonight. I like that. I have to bring the show to a close. Gentlemen, thank you for your effort, as always. And now that the Dodgers are in full bloom, really into the postseason, our shows will become more and more heated. I hope they last a long time. I hope they go all the way to November, that we can have these shows talking about the Dodgers postseason. I hope we don't have to say, well, it was great while it lasted, and it's over now, and let's start thinking about next spring. And I hope that doesn't come until November 1st. But thank you, Ron Rabinovitz, and thank you, Fred Walin. Thank you very much. And this is Comfortably Zoned Radio, Dodger Baseball, signing off for tonight. Good night, gentlemen. Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
This has been a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.